there's lots of conversations that need to happen. But I think, first of all, it really needs to come from, what is it that I want to achieve? What's the time frame, and why do I want to achieve it? What are the feelings I want to have? And I think when you really connect into the feelings of what being in business provides you, it raises your emotional intelligence. It creates that education. You're allowed to have educated conversations which are not emotionally driven, and you are able to see what's out there, and then step into that space.
The Podcast Empire, podcast mastery for women in business.
Welcome back to the Podcast Empire Women in Business series, where we help purpose-driven women launch profitable podcasts to build their brand and their influence. I'm your host, Tracy Cook, and today I want to bring you a phenomenal guest who's making waves in the world of business. This series is a great way to find out which women are impacting the world in their chosen industry. And today we have somebody truly remarkable. As you embark on your podcasting journey, make sure to check out the show notes for your free podcasting resources. Now, today's guest is no other than ERIN Davis, and she is a money mindset and business coach. Now, here's what I know about ERIN. When people want to get control of their money, step into their life with confidence and clarity, that is what she actually provides to them. And she knows how to get the best out of you. Join us as we delve into ERIN's journey, her insights, and the strategies she's used to overcome challenges, achieve success, and the practical advice that helped her get where she is today. Let's dive into this empowering episode. Money Mindset Coach. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this industry and what was your journey getting there?
Well, I am an accountant. So I'm a fully qualified accountant with over 30 years experience in that space. And it was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago that I was going through my own rocky times with self-confidence and, that whole self-doubt piece. And I chose at that point to work on myself and work on my own confidence and really step it up in my own space. And the more I did that, the more I opened myself up to just really seeing what other business owners are experiencing. And I think, being an accountant for so long, I was busy doing the compliance and busy managing the clients, busy helping them and advising them. But it wasn't really until I resolved my own confidence issues that I was able to see that so many other business women have that fake it till you make it, lack of confidence, lack of, they've just got so much self-doubt there, that I really decided that I needed to help and share and break down this stigma and the shame around not knowing and understanding your money. Because when you do, it just changes everything. It really is a game changer to be able to step into your confidence and then step it up in your business.
Absolutely. And I think maybe, and you might agree or disagree, it may be a bit generational as well. You can't have that. We don't have enough money, or money is evil, or I wonder how they got so rich. They must be corrupt. All that programming as well. Or it might be an abundance of money and it's never ending. So there's not the gratitude or the practicality of how to actually embrace that abundance as well. Would you agree or not agree on those type of things?
Absolutely. We all have our own money stories, and it usually comes through from an unconscious space that we don't even realize what those money stories are. However, it's our upbringing. It's what our parents said to us just off the cuff, comments, you've got to work hard for your money, or money doesn't grow on trees, or you can't have that, or you've got to be grateful for what you have. So there is that generational thing, but it also can and date back prior to our immediate family. And back in history, women have had a really rough time about owning their space. And, you know, if they use natural medicines or herbs or anything like that, they were considered to be witches. So women have really had a hard time in history being able to be confident and step up in their world. So you may not necessarily have experienced anything particular yourself. However, your parents may have, or your grandmother or your great grandmother or your great 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 grandmother has experienced something. And we know that that trauma, emotional trauma, is being passed down through the generations. So it really is so individual, and it's very, very much illogical. Like, most of it doesn't make sense. Consciously, you go, well, that's silly. That doesn't make sense. That's not me. But it's at that subconscious level, which is the underlying factor, which plays out even if we don't even realize it.
Absolutely. I'm glad you've identified that gap, and you're now empowering women, especially, to take control of their finances and step into their life with confidence. Because if we know what our foundations are, I'm guessing that's where we can launch from. So, in that space, tell us a little bit about your journey helping people, and maybe some practical advice, tips, or strategies as well.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I've seen a lot of women have shame around not understanding or not knowing, or leaving it to their male partners or business owners to make the decisions and make those choices. So the practical examples of how I work with women is we get really clear on what the financial statements mean, which can be very black and white. However, I find when you have the systems and the processes in place, you're able to then be in flow in the feminine way, because you can make decisions on the fly. You can really step into your intuition. You can decide whether it's good or not, but you have the financial understanding and the financial literacy on the back end to be confident with making that decision, and not having that money shame or the guilt hanging over your head, that invisible weight that you don't understand, and you're not really sure whether you should make a decision or not, or whether this is the right thing to do. You're able to just really make the decision. So the practical solution to the work that I do is really getting clear and understanding exactly what those financial statements are. We tap into the goals that you want to achieve, but it's really connected to that heart center rather than just a monetary goal, because a lot of women aren't actually driven by money. They're driven by what money provides. So it's the time freedom, or the travel freedom, or the um the I suppose time freedom is probably the biggest one, that when you have the freedom of time, you can then choose to live your life how you want to live it. But you can't do that unless you're financially secure, which comes back to understanding those financials and making those decisions on a practical level.
That is great nuggets of advice. Now, what would you advise for, say, stay at home mums where the man is working and they've got joint access to the money? And how are those decisions made from your experience? Again,
Well, I think
individual, right?
yeah, it is very individual, but I think it's becoming, making yourself aware, making yourself part of the conversation, and just not allowing it to happen. And look, there are a lot of men out there that do control the money in a good way and take the pressure off. And everybody has their own roles within a family. I know our family has very separate roles, but we work collaboratively, and we're in it as a partnership. I know a lot of women aren't in that situation as well. Though what I would say is, become clear, make yourself aware, educate yourself, you know, realize that there is more to it than just letting things happen. You have a choice, and you have a responsibility to yourself to understand what's happening. You may not need to make all the decisions, but at least you're aware, and at least you have the choice. and you're part of the conversation. So I would say, stay-at-home mums, any women, anywhere, in business, not in business, you need to understand your money. You need to understand where you are. You need to understand your money stories that are driving your behavior, because those beliefs are the drivers. And it's starting to create awareness around those drivers. And then if it's not serving you, or it's making you feel icky and uncomfortable, then it's up to you to educate yourself further as to what needs to change, where it needs to change, where can you get help. You don't have to do it all by yourself, but the awareness and the willingness to change needs to come from you first.
And that's why people like you, Erin, are so important, because they can come to you, they can have a conversation with you to get that understanding, to know what questions to maybe bring up to their partner, so they can have that real effective communication with the emotional and financial intelligence to be able to ask the right questions and have that clarity. So it's not going to bring about shame. It's not going to bring about family arguments with finances as well. They can really have those educated conversations. So you're providing such a good service to families to be able to move forward, break those generational money traumas almost, and really, step into their lives with confidence, with clarity, with open communication. It is so necessary. And women in business. Now, I remember, I'd love your thoughts around this. Women in business. I remember years and years ago, I sat down with a financial planner, and he said, before you buy anything in your business, then think about the cost of it and how many hours you would have to work to buy that. And the second question you ask yourself is it worth the investment? Now, I was a woman in business. I didn't want to be capped to an hourly rate. So what are your thoughts around advice like that for an entrepreneur from a woman in business?
I think it's really connecting back to what's important to you. What's the bigger picture? What's the big goal? There's always the chicken and the egg scenario as to, do you invest or do you make money first and then invest? And I'm not a financial planner, so I can't give financial advice. However, I can advise from a business perspective that you actually need to invest in your business to be able to make it grow. And that could be investing within yourself, because if you are able to show up as your true, authentic self, be confident, be bold, be brave, and be courageous, you're able to see opportunities, you're able to put yourself forward, you're able to take those opportunities and make them happen. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to invest in physical things within your business. I think investing in yourself is probably the most important thing that you can do. And because of that, it then leads to the other things and leads to the opportunities, which it all needs to be a business decision, and there needs to be a risk assessment with it and a return on investment, of course, because otherwise, why would you be in business? And you need to be in business to make profit. And if you're not making profit, then you're not really in business. So yeah, I think it's a very different type of conversation for everybody, but I think it comes back to that. What is it that you want to feel, and how do you want to feel? Because they should be the drivers, because majority of women, not all women, majority of women connect into the feelings. So if you are able to harness the feelings that you want and create more of those feelings, and of course there's going to be hard work, and of course there's going to be ups and downs and all the rest of it that goes with it, but really tapping into those feelings of what you want and then creating the space to allow for those feelings to happen or come to fruition is probably the most powerful thing.
Absolutely. It's called women's intuition for a reason, right? and tapping
Yes.
into that is the second bit of that. Your advice is just so valuable for somebody as a woman in business who's just starting out to identify maybe what their money story is. Can you offer, a couple of tips or some insights in what they should be identifying and where do they start?
I think it really starts with the awareness. And we have these conversations in our head all the time. Like we have 1,440 minutes in a day. The amount of conversations that we have in our head is just astronomical. And most of those conversations go unnoticed. So I think really the first step when identifying your money stories is what are you saying to yourself and how is it making you feel? And this can be achieved by, creating a diary. And it may seem like a bit of overkill, but I think until you're really clear about the awareness and what it is that you're actually saying to yourself, whatever you say at the moment is your truth. And that's what you believe. And so everything around you is going to confirm your truth. So it's not until you start to become aware of it and then start to challenge it. Is this serving me? Is it not? How does it make me feel? I don't like feeling like this, that you can change anything. So you really need to start to become aware. And that I think is going back to that tedious, 3 times a day. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you doing? And really start to take notice of those thoughts and feelings, because then you can start to do something about it.
Absolutely. I remember going back to when we were talking to this planner, and I know you're not a planner, financial planner, and he made us collect all of our receipts for 6 months. And we were monitoring what
Wow.
we're actually spending our money on. And the amount of takeaway blew my mind. I didn't actually realize how much I was spending on coffee. I was spending on McDonald's drive-through and magazines when, back in the day when you'd have your magazine subscriptions. I was spending like $1,000 a year on magazine subscriptions and throwing them out. And when I identified where my money was actually going, no wonder I was struggling and checking my bank before I swiped the card at the checkout. It's because I thought I was so abundant, which I was at that time, that it didn't really matter if I spent that on that and that on that. But when I niched it down, collected the receipts, itemized everything over 6 months, it was grueling. It made me really aware, and going back to how you were talking of that awareness, and that is something that neural programming, that it changed so much. It was so impactful after that experience, and I got rid of the shame and the guilt, and I became educated like you promote. Then I'm able to make a lot better financial decisions now based on that awareness. So I think that is a valuable tip that you shared. And what would the second part of that be? Maybe for maintaining it, is that something that your clients, they start off all gung-ho and then it kind of slides away? Is that a pattern or not?
Yeah, absolutely. It is a pattern, because I think what you focus on is what you do, and the attention is drawn to it. So it's about putting systems and processes in place that takes away the emotion, and it automates things and it regulates things without you having to think about it. Because when you put too much thought into it, or there's too much thinking, you get in your way too much. So you'll just let it slip. Just this one time will be okay. And then that'll be the next time. And then that'll be the next time. And then all of a sudden, you're 6 months down the track and you're like, oh, bugger, what's happened here? I don't know where it's all gone. So I think really the awareness is the first part. And then the next part is how do you maintain the systems and the processes to move you forward in a way that feels congruent and aligned and in flow? So it's about then working on those deeper emotions that you have in that healing process to step into your confidence and step into your space and really own it without the shame or the guilt, because there's a judgment-free zone here where we're all have done it at some point. The difference is that you're going to own it and you're going to step into your space and own your space. And when you can do that, you just build that momentum, and you surround yourself with people who are building the momentum as well, and having positive conversations about money without the shame or the guilt. And it really just changes your whole way of being. So then you just gain momentum. But then it's also relying on your support network. So your team of advisors, your accountant, your business coach, your financial planner, your other women in business networks that you see and, really collaborate with, because being a woman in business can be very lonely and isolating at times. And, you can feel very vulnerable to open up about this type of stuff because, there is a lot of shame that I should know better and I should know what I'm doing. So it's about finding that trusted circle that you can just let down your guard and be yourself, and just know that they are there for your best interest to support you and help you be the best you can be and have your business thrive.
Absolutely. Scaling and growing. That's what we all aspire to do. And if it's not for accountants and business coaches and money mindset coaches like yourself, ERIN, we would be in a pickle. So I'm so glad that you're helping women transform in their personal life and in their business life and creating so many financially abundant transformations for your clients. We'll be sharing where to connect with ERIN in the show notes below. Make sure that you go and check her out and, have a conversation. ERIN's always up for a conversation. So have a conversation with how she could potentially help you if this is something that you're feeling stuck in. And like she said, there's judgment free. There's no shame. There's no guilt. There's no judgment. Just have a conversation. Now, what kind of message would you like to leave the audience on today, ERIN?
I think the most important thing for you is to be able to control your money so you can step into the rest of your life with confidence. And I think when you remove the invisible load that money carries, that mental load, the freedom that you will feel will mean that you can just show up as your best self. So no matter where you're at, there's always something more to learn, whether you're at the very beginning or you're halfway through or you've been in business for a long time. It's always about learning where can you improve, what's holding you back, what's stopping you from going to that next level, whatever that next level is for you. And I think being confident, people can feel it. You can see it. The vibe, the energy is just contagious. So when you are able to remove that invisible mental load, like I said, your confidence will ooze and your business will thrive.
You are serving so many women on so many different levels. You are a visionary, a thought leader, and a game changer, ERIN. It's been an absolute pleasure. Join us on our next episode of Women in Business, where we'll be discussing everything and anything that is going to help you unstuck yourself as a woman in business. We will see you on the next episode and in the pod.
The Podcat's Empire, podcast mastery for women in business.